So what is concrete realism? It's a form of art that I make, we'll say just my visual art. It's abstract. For all intents and purposes, it's abstract. I mean, I work with forms and it's non-figurative, non-representational a lot of the time. But it's concrete because I'm basing it on concrete, what are to me concrete experiences, such as the perception of objects and my sense perceptions, which to me there's a topological kind of aspect to my experience, where I'll see like my hand, and I'll have a thought or a feeling, and the sequence in which they happen is not linear. It's not like I have this Euclidean space or Cartesian space coordinates where objects have their positions and other objects in relation to them have vectors and this three-dimensional space. Me, it's happening more like inwardly. I'm experiencing things as flashes, or what you can call series of paintings. Like they're little images, little paintings, and they don't always happen in a linear fashion. So I'll be reading something and it's discursive, and it's a discourse, and I'm reading it and I'm experiencing the field of discourse that's relating to my field of experience, and I'll have a line of flight where I'll see a word and it'll make me think of something, and I'll go into a sequence of thoughts. Maybe I'll return to the book, or I'll get another book to get a reference so I can comprehend what I'm experiencing. But it always comes back to the fundamental experience. It's realist because I'm representing really what I'm experiencing. So an impressionist might go out and bring their easel and work and paint in a plein air, we call it, where they see a scene, they paint it, and they sort of have a poetic way of mode of interpretation, if you will, because our movements like Cubism and Surrealism and Impressionism really are modes of interpretation, in my view. But they'll be representing the space. These are spaces, and the space that I'm representing is my inward space. So I'm observing phenomena, and they're coming through my senses. And I have thoughts, feelings, the sense perceptions, and everything is in constant motion or movement. So it's topological because one image and another image will be in the same neighborhood, but they might be separated. They might be in a sort of non-neighborhood. And it's hard to explain the topological aspect to my experience. I mean, it comes back to the experience that I had as a young child, where I did not yet develop that projective three-dimensional space with perspective, and as I was saying, objects and vectors connecting them, and where you can gauge distances between objects, and everything has this three-dimensional Euclidean, even Newtonian space. Me, it's more topological, it's more flattened, and I'm seeing on the screen of the reel, I call it, I'm seeing flashes of objects and events, and they're not always in the same temporal order. I mean, I might experience A, experience B, experience C. They come in sequence temporally in a time order, an order of events one after the other, but the way that I experience it is maybe not necessarily in that order. So concrete realism is just me representing. I'll give you an example of a representation where I took a flat piece of paper and I glued some paper, other colored papers, and I wrote on them, and I scribbled, and I added some oil pastels, and you see there's a relationship between them in the same neighborhood, and there's not really a three-dimensional depth to the field, to the visual field. It's flattened, but I mean there is this sort of like network or graph relationship between the objects, and I didn't put lines connecting them. I could have. That would have given more of a graph-like network appearance to it. But see, those are things, I mean, I was really observing the papers as I was gluing them, and I was painting or creating visual art based on the experience that I was having. So it's very phenomenological, it's like I experience these things, I represent the experiences through art, and it's concrete because the only experience I know that is concretely real is my inward experience of of history, of the world, of other people, of things, of myself. And it's realist because I'm being as realistic as I can to really, with a high fidelity, represent my experience. So that's concrete realism.